Indie Comics Deep Dive with Mona and Sam. Howdy folks, and welcome back for another deep dive into the world of indie comics.
I like it.
I'm Sam, and with me as always is the insightful Mona.
Glad to be here.
And today we're going to be taking a deep dive into issue number 1 of Wild West Adventures of Buffalo Bill.
Oh, nice.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't read it yet, you might want to come back to this later.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to be digging into all the details.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is just one issue in an ongoing series, so we're only talking about issue number 1, Those Who Serve, published by Lenovations Press. And hey, while you're at it, why not hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with all our comic book journeys?
Always a good idea.
So issue 1, Those Who Serve, throws us right into the thick of it. 1885, Elmo, Colorado.
Right into the action.
And Buffalo Bill is getting ready for the grand opening of his Wild West show.
Yeah, it's this great blend of carnival and rodeo elements, which is something Lenovations does really well. They take these historical figures and settings, and then they kind of add this layer of almost whimsical entertainment.
Yeah, it creates this really fun atmosphere right from the start.
Yeah. But then these darker things start to happen right away.
For sure, like the tension with the Native American chief.
Oh, right.
He's a star performer, but he's not too happy about his tent being so close to the special exhibits.
You mean what we'd call a freak show now?
Exactly. And it really makes you think about the exploitation back then.
Absolutely. That theme of appearances versus reality, it's woven throughout the whole story.
But then things take a turn when, right in the middle of all this excitement, Elmo gets hit with a bank robbery.
And not just any bank robbery. The culprits are, let's just say, they're not your typical outlaw gang.
But this robbery, it's not what you'd expect. Yeah, we've got a 7-year-old kid, an elderly prospector, and get this, the sheriff's wife.
It's a detail that really makes you stop and think, none of these people seem like they have a reason to be robbing a bank. And it instantly adds this layer of mystery to the story.
Right, that throws you off balance.
Talk about a motley crew.
Right, and then it gets even weirder when they're caught.
What happens?
They all just fall into a trance chanting, "I live to serve Lord Mesmer," over and over again. Totally sends shivers down your spine. And it instantly points to Lord Mesmer, the hypnotist who's recently joined Buffalo Bill's show, as, you know, like the prime suspect.
Right. He becomes the prime suspect. But when they confront him, he denies any involvement. In fact, he suggests that they might be under the influence of mind control drugs.
Which throws a whole other wrench into the whole investigation.
Right. Suddenly, we're not just dealing with a simple bank robbery. There's this possibility of a much larger conspiracy at play.
And the clues start to add up. Remember that seemingly insignificant detail about the sheriff's wife visiting the dentist earlier that day?
Right.
It becomes a crucial piece of the puzzle. They go to the dentist's office, and guess what?
What?
The dentist is also in a trance, chanting the same phrase about serving Lord Mesmer.
Oh, wow.
So now it's like, okay, is everyone in this town under Mesmer's spell? What's going on here?
So it is a conspiracy.
Seems like it, and it really points to Mesmer being the mastermind.
Right.
But hold on, because here's the real shocker.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
We discover that Mesmer is under someone else's control, chanting, "I live to serve Lady Mesmer." Turns out Ursa Tats, the quiet assistant.
You're kidding?
Nope, she's been the puppet master all along, using Mesmer to do her bidding.
Wow, I did not see that coming.
And the way she escapes, it's pure chaos, blows up Mesmer's tent to cover her tracks.
That's one way to make a getaway.
So now there's a $5,000 reward for her capture. Mesmer is determined to clear his name, and a new magician, Presto the Mystic, is stepping into the spotlight.
Wow, what a cliffhanger.
The Wild West show must go on, even with Ursa Tats lurking out there somewhere.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
Me neither.
But before we get too ahead of ourselves, I think it's worth taking a moment to appreciate the creative team. Their passion for storytelling really shines through in this issue.
Absolutely. Let's give them a shout out. We have Len Mihaljevic, who wrote and lettered the story. Alexander Bozic brought it to life with his vibrant art style. And we can't forget Phil Miller, whose character profiles add so much personality to the cast.
They've done a fantastic job of creating a comic that's both entertaining and thought-provoking, and they've done it under the banner of Lenovations Press, an indie publisher known for their motto, "Comics done for fun." What do you think about their approach? Does that resonate with you?
It definitely does. There's a sense of playfulness and experimentation in their work that I find really appealing, and you can tell they're having fun with it, which makes the reading experience even more enjoyable.
That sense of fun bleeds into the story itself.
Lenovations is known for those amazing Easter eggs they sprinkle throughout their comics.
Oh, you know I love a good Easter egg hunt.
Me too. So what did you catch, Mona?
Well, buckle up, partner, because we're about to uncover some real gems.
Sounds good. Lead the way.
All right, let's dig in. Well, for starters, did you notice that Sheriff Miller is actually modeled after Lenovations Press's own artist, Phil Miller?
Oh, really?
Yep, it's a fun little tribute to the team behind the comic.
That's a cool detail. I always love those little behind-the-scenes connections.
Me too. We can't forget about the most clever Easter egg of all, Ursa Tats herself.
Oh, yeah. What's the story with her name?
Her name, Ursa Tats, it's actually a play on the word ersatz.
Ersatz?
You know, like a substitute something that's not as good as the original.
Oh, I get it. So it's a hint at her deceptive nature.
Exactly. They were foreshadowing her role as the villain from the very beginning.
That is so clever. And then there's Presto the Mystic.
Ah, yes. He's actually a reimagined version of a 1950s comic character, the Presto Kid, from Magazine Enterprise's Red Mask series.
Oh, wow. So they're not just referencing their own work. They're pulling from this broader history of comics. It's like they're creating this lineage,
Yeah,
showing that they're part of this larger tradition of storytelling.
exactly. And it's not just characters. Remember that scene where Tommy Hawk walks past those sideshow banners?
Uh-huh.
Those weren't just random images. They
Yeah.
actually reference literary novels at the time period.
Yeah, like The Time Machine, Frankenstein.
Yeah, John Carter, Dr. Dolittle. It's like they're weaving in these little threads of popular culture, you know?
Yeah.
It's subtle, but it adds this richness to the world building. It makes you realize that even in the Wild West, people were consuming these stories, these ideas, and it connects the past to the present in a really interesting way.
Yeah. And then there's Karnoff the Strongman.
Oh, yes. A clear visual tribute to the video game character Karnoff.
Oh, from the 80s.
Yeah, you remember that fire-breathing hero from the arcade game?
I do.
It's a great example of how Lenovations isn't afraid to embrace different forms of pop culture. They're drawing from video games, literature, even real-life figures, and it creates this unique blend of influences.
And it speaks to their audience. They're not assuming we're only interested in one specific thing. They're acknowledging that we have diverse interests.
Exactly. And I think that's part of what makes their work so appealing. It's accessible, but it's also layered and complex. It rewards you for paying attention. Now, speaking of paying attention, did you notice the cover for issue number 2?
Oh, yeah. It shows Buffalo Bill facing off against this terrifying frozen fiend in front of a carnival tent.
And if you remember those sideshow banners that Tommy Hawk walked past earlier, you'll recognize that monster.
It's the same one.
Yeah.
So they're already setting up the next adventure.
They're planting those seeds, which creates this sense of anticipation. You're left wondering, okay, what's the story behind this frozen fiend? How does it tie into Ursa's escape?
It's classic cliffhanger technique. It definitely makes you want to pick up the next issue.
But I think it also speaks to Lenovation's larger approach to storytelling. They're not just telling these isolated stories. They're creating a connected world where each issue builds upon the last.
It's like a serialized novel, but in comic book form. And I think that's something that indie comics do really well. They allow for these longer, more intricate narratives to unfold.
Exactly. So even though we've only scratched the surface of this world, there's clearly so much more to discover.
And we'll be diving into issue number 2 soon enough. But for now, let's wrap up this deep dive into Those Who Serve with some final thoughts.
Sounds good. What stood out to you the most about this issue?
For me, it's the way that Lenovations blends this humor and action with these genuinely creepy moments. Like, one minute you're laughing at Tommy Hawk's witty comebacks, and the next you're getting chills down your spine when those robbers start chanting about serving Lord Mesmer.
Yeah, you're right. It's that unexpected shift in tone that really keeps you on the edge of your seat. You never know what's coming next.
Exactly, and I think that's part of what makes this comic so engaging. It's not just a straightforward Western adventure. It's got this layer of mystery and suspense that keeps you guessing.
And those complex characters. I mean, Ursa Tats is a fascinating villain. She's clearly intelligent and manipulative, but we don't know her full story yet. Like, what drives her? What are her ultimate goals?
Those are the questions that are going to keep us hooked until the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling Lenovations is going to give us some answers, but probably not all of them. They're masters at teasing out information and keeping the reader engaged.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes following a series like this so rewarding. You get to see these characters evolve over time, the mysteries unfold, and the world expand with each issue.
It's like we're on this journey with them uncovering the secrets of the Wild West alongside Buffalo Bill and his crew.
And speaking of the Wild West, I think it's worth mentioning how Lenovations manages to capture the spirit of that era while also introducing these fantastical elements. It's a delicate balance, but they pull it off beautifully.
Yeah, they don't shy away from the historical realities of the Wild West, but they also aren't afraid to have a little fun with it. It's like they're saying, hey, this was a real time and place, but let's also use our imagination and explore the possibilities.
Exactly. And that sense of playful exploration is what makes indie comics like this so refreshing. They're not bound by the same conventions as mainstream comics. They have the freedom to experiment and try new things.
And that's what we love about them, right? They're constantly pushing the boundaries of what comics can be.
Absolutely. So if you're looking for a comic that's exciting, funny, thought-provoking, and just plain fun to read, then I highly recommend checking out Wild West Adventures of Buffalo Bill.
I couldn't agree more.
It's available at lots of online retailers.
Like Lenovationspress.com, Indie Planet, DriveThruComics.com, Global Comics, you name it.
It's a wild ride for sure.
Trust us on that one. It's a fantastic introduction to the world of Lenovations Press, and we can't wait to see what they have in store for us in future issues. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our deep dive on issue number 2.
And as you dive deeper into the world of indie comics, keep your eyes peeled for those hidden gems.
The stories that surprise you.
Spark your imagination.
Leave you wanting more.
And hey, who knows, maybe you'll even find some Easter eggs of your own along the way.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Wild West Adventures of Buffalo Bill. Until then, happy reading, folks.